Hello and welcome back to another week of Open Mic Night. So glad you guys made it back. Tonight, you guys are going to find out how bad your USB can actually be. I'm going to teach you guys about podcasts, and we're going to do a lot of other stuff, so stick around. It's going to be a really fun show. All right, so like I said, welcome back to another week of Open Mic Night. So glad that you guys made it back. Welcome to everyone. If you guys are new, this show is basically a weekly live tech show where I give you guys the news and some tips of the week and just anything tech related we can talk about. And this week's a little bit different because if you guys are over on my website here, www.wegertech.com, and go to the live/live, or on there's watch live, you guys can actually join the chat room, and I'm watching the chat room right here, so I can actually see what you guys are talking about. And also, we have a new feature this week, and it is the call-in feature. So if you guys want to call into the show, you guys can actually call in, and I will put you live on the air, and I will do my best to answer your questions. This is the first week I am doing the call-in, so I plead you guys, we're going to keep it professional, family friendly. You know, a lot of people watch this show and, I don't want anyone to be offended. So keep your questions, family friendly, but I'll try and do my best. I'm an Apple guy, so if you guys have Apple questions, that's better, but I can try and solve any other tech questions. But yeah, so call in. The number is 402-413-0067, and you will be live and on the show. So that is that. Welcome to all of our new podcast listeners. I know we have a few of those. And actually, I'm going to talk to you guys about podcasts later. For those of you guys who maybe have heard podcasts, but don't really know what it is. But the first thing I want to do today is I want to talk to you guys about bad USB. So this past week, we've had Black Hat and DEF CON. Those are two kind of hacker conferences, and they kind of meet and they talk about what the latest hacks are, what the latest vulnerabilities are, and they have a lot of fun. They don't sleep for days, and they compete, and they try and hack each other and all that stuff. It's a total nerd fest, but it sounds like a blast. I would love to go one year. But so they had this, and the main topic and what's kind of been talked about on the news sources lately is bad USB. But what is bad USB? Basically, most USB devices, and those of you guys who don't know, USB, the thing you plug into your computer, it's the rectangle. USB is widely used. It's universal. It's on, it's on tablets, it's on computers, it's on anything. There are a ton of USB devices. And what the problem is that there is firmware on those USB devices. There is software basically running on those USB devices that kind of tells the computer certain information. And what they have found out is that this is actually able to be hacked. And you can actually hack the firmware and kind of make it do anything kind of malicious, or you can really make it do anything. And the problem is that there are so many types of USB devices. We're not just talking about the storage devices. We're not just talking about the little thumb drives that you plug in. We're talking about, USB webcams, USB microphones, anything you can think of that is USB has firmware on it, most likely, that can be hacked. Now, they did say that, this is opening the doors for hackers, but, this doesn't cause widespread panic. Don't stop using all your USB devices. But what it brings up is actually, this difference of, total security over kind of convenience and usability. And, do we want the convenience and usability of USB, which we can pretty much use on any computer and any device, but we have to put up with the security risk of that. And so now we have this huge security risk. And in the world of technology, we're always trying to balance convenience versus security. You want something, but it's also it's a hassle to have to put in the passcode lock every time. So some people say, I'll have it turn on every 10 minutes. Okay, well, if I want it 5 minutes, that's more secure, but less convenient. So in technology, we are always battling this convenience versus security argument. And what we're starting to see is with USB, there are actually certain vulnerabilities. And, this is just kind of coming out. They just had the big presentation on it at Black Hat. So I'll kind of keep you guys updated over the next few weeks. But I just want to let you know that it's out there and that technically most USB devices that have firmware on them can be hacked, and they can make your computer really do just anything. I think thing to do, nothing really bad, but they were just showing the example of what could happen with this whole vulnerability in the USBs. So that is bad USB. So the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is actually what I started the show off with, and that is podcasts. I was talking to some people lately, over the past few weeks, and and I was talking to them about the podcasts I listened to, and the question that I got back more times than not was, okay, what is up with these podcasts? What really is a podcast? And so I realized that on my show, maybe I should tell you guys what a podcast is. Now, obviously, for those of you guys who are listening to this right now in podcast version, which I know there are quite a few of you, it's going to be kind of redundant for you, but for you viewers on YouTube, and for some of you over at OMN Radio that are watching, a podcast, pretty much all it is it is a show, a recorded show, and they can be in audio or video format. Usually they're audio, but there are video podcasts out there too. It's a recorded show that comes out on a schedule, like a week or every month, every week, something like that. And basically it is an a la carte, on-demand show. And so I have this show, just like this show is right now, and I record it and I put it out there. And if you want it, you can go get it whenever you want it. You don't have to be listening live. Think about the radio. When you're turning on your radio, you have to be listening right at that exact moment to hear what they're saying. Well, actually, radio stations and a lot more people are now recording it and putting it into podcast form, which means you guys can go back later and pretty much get any version of the show you want whenever you want it. And it's fantastic. This is how I gather all of my tech news. I listen to I pay about 15 podcasts a week, all about an hour. And so I get about, 15 hours worth of tech news. And I do it while I'm driving. And that's the thing I want to tell you guys, why would I get into podcasts? Well, it's because you can listen to material when otherwise you couldn't be reading it online. And so I do it when I'm driving in the car. I put it on my speakers in the house when I'm just walking around cleaning or doing something else. You can listen to it, on a bike ride or anything like that. Pretty much any time that you could listen to music, you could listen to podcasts. And the way I always justify it to myself is, I could listen to music, and I do love music, nothing against music, but I could be learning something. And, grab a podcast in an area that you are interested in. That's the thing people don't know is there are podcasts about everything. Beauty, fashion, technology, architecture, construction, whatever topic you want, I guarantee there's a podcast out there for you. So go out. I encourage you guys to check out podcasts. iTunes is obviously the easiest way to go to get your podcast, but there are tons of podcast apps on your phones, on your iPhones, Android phones, iPhones. Just go to the App Store and search for podcast, and you can find an app, and usually they're very simple. You search and you type in a keyword, and you find podcasts that you might like. So go ahead and check those out. That's one thing I kind of want to tell you guys about because I started to realize that not everyone really knew what the podcast was. But just a little plug right now, this show is available in podcast form. So if you guys don't want to watch the video and you guys just want to listen into audio format, if you head on over to my website, WegerTech.com, and there is a link that says subscribe in iTunes. And you can also search for the show and any other podcast app, and it should be there as well. So that is podcasts. The next quick story I wanted to cover with you guys is that Amazon, for those of you who are Amazon Prime members, and for those of you who don't know, Amazon Prime is the membership service you pay yearly. Depends on if you're a student or a person. I think it's around $50 to $100 a year. You get free 2-day shipping, and you get also access to their Prime Video and a bunch of other services by being a Prime member. Well, Prime offered something just a little bit different. I kind of want to throw out to you guys because I almost missed it. But if you guys are going to be making an Amazon purchase in the near future, and the new feature, obviously with Prime members, you get free 2-day shipping, which is great. But that does cost Amazon money, and I think they are losing money on the shipping because the new option is that if you choose the absolute slowest shipping, and I can't remember what it is, I want to say it's like a week or 2 weeks. If you choose the slowest shipping and you are an Amazon Prime member, they will actually credit you $1 towards Amazon Video. So, if you're ordering something that you're like, well, I'm ordering it, I don't need it right away, it can come whenever, you might as well get the $1 credit towards Amazon Prime Video. And that can be used towards rentals or purchases or anything like that. It's something that wasn't as enticing to me because usually I'm going to Amazon because I want the 2-day free shipping. Usually that's why I'm going there. Otherwise, I'd go to the store or do something else or order it from someplace other than Amazon. But, for those of you who maybe do use Amazon Video and you want that extra $1 credit, well, the next time you buy something, there is a shipping option. It's actually, I think it's either on the top or the bottom. I can't remember how they list them. But it actually says in parentheses, you'll earn a $1 credit. So a little hidden story there that didn't make it out to the vast public very quickly. So I want to fill you guys in on that if you guys are Amazon Prime members, because I know I am. And, I might use that in the future. Probably not, but I might. It's nice to know it's there. All right, so the next thing, and this kind of blew up. And if you guys follow any sort of tech news website, if you guys listen to any other podcast, I'm sure they have talked to you guys about this, but I wanted to put in my own 2 cents because I think it's different than a lot of other people. And that is the Facebook Messenger app for your phone. If you guys know, or if you guys have used the Facebook app on your phone, you've gotten the alert that says that you will have to download the Facebook Messenger app. And I think it's actually already happened that the messages in the Facebook app are no longer supported. You actually have to get the separate Facebook Messenger app. Fine. Okay. But what happened was when that came out, the news sources just jumped on the terms of service for this new Facebook Messenger app and said pretty much this app is awful, don't install it. It can control your entire phone. It can turn on the microphone whenever it wants. It can turn on the camera whenever it wants. It can do all of this stuff, and don't get it. If Facebook's just getting too big for their britches, and it spawned this entire series of articles on Facebook privacy and the apps and phone privacy in general. And I just kind of wanted to throw my views in there because if you guys Google the story, you will get all the negative press you can see. But I kind of wanted to put, I always try and look on the bright side. Well, if there is a bright side to this, if there is, an alternate to all the bad stories that are going on, is that there are a lot of myths going on about this and they're not very true. And so I kind of wanted to debunk these for you guys. And so the first one is that, the terms of service for the new Facebook Messenger app are the exact same as the Facebook app. They're the same. So if people were freaking out about the new Facebook Messenger app, they obviously shouldn't have had the regular Facebook app. And so this isn't really anything new or novel. It's just that Facebook drew attention to the terms of service because they drew attention to this new app. And so naturally, the nerds out there went out there and actually read the entire terms of service. And so the other thing that I kind of want to tell you guys is that if you do read the terms of service, it is a little bit scary when you read it. You can start to see that, that the app can use your microphone and it can use your camera. You have to give it all these permissions and stuff like that. But this set of permissions is not exclusive to Facebook. If you have any other sort of app like this, you're going to have the exact same permissions. And it's because, you can call to certain contacts, you can call to your friends through Facebook, and so they need access to your microphone. They need to, you just need to allow it to have it. It's not that it's going to turn it on maliciously. It's just that it'll use it when you want to call someone. Same thing with the camera. When you guys are posting a photo and you just want to take the photo straight into the app, the Facebook Messenger app needs access to the camera. So yes, if you want to, be cynical about the whole thing, you could read the terms of service to be that, Facebook is going to do all this bad stuff to your phone. They have full control. And, if you read the terms of service like that, I guess that is true. But my point of view is that they are not doing that. These terms of service are very generic. Just, they're like a ton of other apps out there. So if you haven't freaked out before about any other apps that you've put on your phone and you start reading all these articles, don't freak out because they're the exact same thing as your apps before. If you haven't had any problems, don't start freaking out now. But of course, this isn't for me to tell you to not be careful and to not actually read the terms of service that you are doing, because those are important. I just don't think that a company like Facebook, all the bad press that Facebook would get if they were actually doing malicious stuff with their app, would not be worth it to Facebook and they would tank. So I don't think that is their intention. But it is something that you guys have to look out for when you guys are installing not as popular of apps. And, if you're some random app from an unknown developer that you don't know of that's not popular, do be careful with those apps. Do be careful with the permissions you give out. But I don't think Facebook is an app that you guys need to worry about, at least as of yet. I reserve the right to change my opinion in the future if Facebook ends up going downhill. So that is pretty much it for the news segment today. I know, it was kind of a quick news week. There weren't any, big stories. I kind of just wanted to fill you guys in on that sort of stuff. But the next thing I kind of want to talk to you guys about is my pick of the week. And if you guys have been around since, I think, week 2, which way back there, we're on actually episode 20. It's been 22 weeks since my second episode, since I started the show. So I think episode 2 was when I talked about this guy for the first time. And this is my Raspberry Pi. But so I kind of wanted to bring it up because I know we've had a lot of new listeners come to the show since week 2. And I want to tell you guys how much fun this $35 device is. And so for those of you guys on audio listening to the podcast, I'm sorry you can't, see what I'm holding up. But for you guys who have never heard of a Raspberry Pi, all it is a $35 pretty much computer. It is a full-blown computer for $35, and it doesn't even come in this box. I probably should have taken it out of the box before the show now that I think of it. It is only the chip inside that you get for $35. And, so I bought the case for $5 and stuff like that. But it is a full-fledged computer, and what it runs on is a little SD card. So this is the entire storage. This is the quote-unquote hard drive for the Raspberry Pi. And so you just slide it right in there, and you have a computer. Now, a lot of people are like, okay, what do I need this for? What do you put on it? And so I run Linux on this computer. It's called Debian is the software that I use. It's the Linux version that I put on this Raspberry Pi. And what I suggest for you parents out there is that if you have a kid who is at all interested in technology or coding or anything like that, this is, the next Christmas gift that should be under the tree. And, it's not too expensive. I think if you get the whole kit with the power cord, it runs on a micro USB power cord. I think the whole kit's around $50. But what it's going to do is it is going to have a cheap computer that your kid can code and mess up and pretty much you could kill the computer and all you have to do is pull out the SD card and plop in a new one or reformat the SD card. And it's a lot better than him messing around with your desktop computer or your laptop or anything like that. But I just want to kind of tell you the type of projects that I have done with this Raspberry Pi, and this is kind of going to be maybe for you Raspberry Pi users out there. If I have any of you guys who actually use Raspberry Pis, maybe I'll give you an idea of something you can do. So the first thing I did right out of the box when I got this, and just so you guys know, there is a huge support community online for Raspberry Pi and how to program it. I am not a coder. I know very basic code. I mean, very, very basic code. So what I did is I went online and found certain communities that kind of walked me through step by step how to do fun projects. And along the way, I learned some more code, and it was a lot of fun. And the first thing I did was make this into pretty much a little VPN box. And so I have this sitting in my apartment, and it's connected to the internet. So let me show the ports real quick. So you've got an Ethernet port, you've got two USB ports right there, and you've got HDMI out, which is fantastic. I'll tell you why in a minute. And then you've got S-video out and also, an audio jack for audio out. So it really does have all the connections and a full HDMI cord, which is going to be awesome. So what I did is I made it a full VPN box. So like I said, it's in my apartment. And what I did was I created this little box, which pretty much goes out to the internet. And if I am anywhere besides my apartment, I can pretty much VPN into this box and it puts me on my home network. So this thing just sits behind my router and it listens for certain traffic. I route all that traffic from my router to this box. And, obviously, it's more complicated than this, but if you have the right keys and the right applications, I can pretty much log into my home network. And what that allows me to do is I can take control of my iMac when I'm not at home. I can, take control of this box and program it if I want to. And there's a lot of different uses to have a VPN in your home, but it's a lot of fun too. You'll find a lot of different things. So a VPN was the first thing I did with this. The second thing I did, which is actually, I think, the most critical and useful feature of my Raspberry Pi, what I have put on it so far, is that I pretty much made it a print server for my printer. And what that means is that, for you iOS users out there, there's that print option when you have your iPhone or your iPad. There's the print option, but no printers out there are ever, AirPrint ready. They're called AirPrint ready printers. And instead of going out and buying an AirPrint printer or going out and buying a print server, you can buy a $35 Raspberry Pi. And you can go online and learn how to install what's called CUPS, C-U-P-S. You can install a CUPS print server onto your Raspberry Pi, and it turns any printer on your network, any printer at all, and even a USB printer. If you have a USB printer, you can plug the USB printer into the Raspberry Pi, and it makes it a network printer that even your iPhone and iPad can print to. Now, I thought that was awesome. I had never been able to print with my iPhone before, and you might think that you'll never print from your iPhone, but once you actually have the capability, you'll start doing it more than you think. You'll pull up an email attachment and like, oh, you're right, I don't have to go to my computer to do this. I can just print it right now. Okay, I'll do that. So that is the second thing I did with this Raspberry Pi. So I have a VPN to go in. It is a print server that I can print to from any computer on my network or any iPhone or iDevice or phone or whatsoever. And so the final thing that I did with this, and this is when I talked about that the SD card is the entire operating system, it's the entire hard drive. Well, since it slides in and out, you could have multiple SD cards with multiple operating systems on it. And so I have 2 SD cards, and on my other SD card, I installed a program called Rasplex. And it basically talks with my Plex server. Now, Plex server is something I'm going to talk about next week on my show. I'm going to kind of go in depth with Plex Media Server. But just basically what it is it runs on a computer on your network, and you store all of your videos, all of your TV show, all of your music on a hard drive on a computer, and then you can access it from other computers on your network. Well, what this does with Rasplex is it makes it, since it has HDMI out, you can put this right next to your big screen TV, plug in an HDMI cord, run Rasplex, and you can watch all of your movies, TV shows, music, anything you have in your Plex media server, you can run and view beautifully, I might add, on your television. So, Rasplex, VPN, AirPrint, a print server, and did I cover anything else? Yeah. That is what I have put on this device, and it is fantastic. And like I said, the fun part about it is that when I was first messing around with it and I was installing, I probably messed up a million times and almost killed the Debian. I put in so much code that it was getting stuck and stuff like that. I just reformatted the SD drive, the SD card, because it's a $35 machine that honestly, if it breaks, I'm not too sad about it. Actually, I think the SD card is almost just as expensive as the actual Raspberry Pi. And so, like I said, for you parents out there, or if anyone, if you're my age or if you're in high school, go out and get yourself one of these and start playing around. Just Google some fun projects you can do with it, and you'll start having a blast. And it'll really kind of get you into a lot of different levels of code and hardware and just stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. So that was kind of my special feature on the Raspberry Pi, and I'm sorry if it was kind of disjointed and not very organized, but it's because I get so excited about my Raspberry Pi and what it can do for other people and how much it can teach kids or even adults. I hate to rule out you adults. If you are adults out there and you want to play around, go out and grab one. They are a ton of fun. I got mine on Amazon. To show you guys where to get them, if you just go on Amazon, you can get actually a whole kit, which is what I did. So I got the actual Raspberry Pi. I got this plastic case that you guys see here and a power cord, I think for around $45 or $50, right around there. So pretty good deal. So go out on Amazon and check that out. But that is it really for the show. If you guys want to support this show, head on over to patreon.com/WegerTech. You guys can support the show for as little as $1 a month, whatever you think I'm worth, whatever. If you want to support the show at all, you can head over there and do that. And besides that, though, if you guys want to contact me, if you guys have any questions, and especially since I started talking about this Raspberry Pi, I know some of you guys are going to have questions because I wasn't able to go into extreme detail. So if you guys want to know how to do things, or if you guys have any questions for me about this, send me an email. My email is mike@wegertech.com, and I'll do my best to get back to you guys as soon as I can there. But also, if you guys just want all of my information, head on over to my website, like I said earlier, wegertech.com, WIEGER tech.com. There you'll find all my other shows and I have a new sector of my business that I'm starting up. You can find all that information over there. So go over and check that out. But like I said, next week, come back because we're going to be talking about Plex Media Server. And if you guys have a lot of movies or, DVDs and music and you guys are just kind of lost in how to view it and store it and all that stuff, I'm going to walk you guys through that next week for my tip of the week. And don't worry, I'll have some news in there too. But come back for the Plex Media Server stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. But until I see you guys next week, tech on.